Good morning. It is a lively Wednesday in here in the studio. There's a lot of energy. Since I worked too hard last week, I've been told, and I know I did. It was shoulders, right? How did everybody feel? Yeah, then gardening has happened. So we're going to have a little bit more of a down on the ground day today. And so you can set up a little bit hips, a little bit of low back. We'll use the chair probably later at the end. So what I've got here is I've got a blanket lengthwise folded. So it's folded like that. And then another one folded the opposite direction. And if you don't have two blankets, you can use a pillow. And then, if you're in the studio, you put your cover on and then have a block beside you and your strap beside you so you can reach them. Sometimes I forget to tell you that. I have the hymns today. So I'm going to turn off the lights in here, even though it makes it darker on the screen. But then you don't have the lights in your eyes. Okay, so do you want me to do that, Tom, since you're down? I'm going to just switch it up for you a little bit. Because this way, and then, oh, wait. Something is screwy there. And then that way, and then that way. And then let me get you a towel for there for your head. Yeah, once you get down, you don't want to get up if you don't have to. And then there's a block beside you. Okay, so where we're sitting, we are sitting in front on the ground and then laying back on it. So then you can adjust where your pelvis is. So the edge of the blanket supports the curve of your low back. Wherever your block is, we don't want it to interfere, block or strap where your arms go, which are out to the side. And then you can adjust your pillow. I'm going to suggest two different ways, depending on what's happening with your shoulders. Either just to the tops of the shoulders, so the shoulders can drop back, and see how that feels. And if it feels like, oh, that's too much, they need a little bit, some more support, pull it a little bit more and rest your shoulders on. So it's going to come down towards you. And then you'll rest your shoulders right on the blanket with your head on the blanket. So depends on what you think you might need. And we'll start with the legs bent in the constructive rest pose. Arms can go out to the sides, just wherever they're comfortable. So if it's not comfortable with your palms turned up, then go to where it feels comfortable in your shoulders. And then just move a little bit. So what I'm doing is I'm rocking on my pelvis side to side, letting my legs go. It doesn't have to be that. It can be any other movement that you feel you want to take until you can feel like your body is ready to settle. So maybe your head turns a little from side to side. And you're gonna go, are you ready? Are you ready to rest? You got up and did all your busy work to get here today. And now you got to come back and so we will be doing some movement, but it'll be closer to the ground today. And then find your balance place. Find the place in the middle, and whatever the middle means to you. It doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical. And you can even take your legs. Today, I'm going to suggest even dropping your knees towards each other and letting them rest against each other. And if that doesn't feel great, then you can have them separated. If it feels okay to rest your knees against each other, do that. So we've got the legs in a little bit of an internal rotation. You can separate your feet to wherever you feel you need to do that. And then take a few breaths here. If you'd like to close your eyes, you can. If you want to keep them open, try to keep your gaze a little bit softer. And we'll spend the first few moments here fully arriving in this space. So your physical body has gotten to where you're practicing today, but where is your mind at? In Monday's class, I talked about balance and laying on your back or your belly on the ground. Or if you can't get down to the ground, you can be on a bed or a table or some other surface, and a long coffee table. It's a really great way to connect with the earth's energy, and a really great way to let your nervous system know that you're supported, and it doesn't have to be on alert. Pain is definitely something that alerts the nervous system. So if you have pain in your body, letting your body rest can help. And then feel whatever sensations you might be feeling in your body, from your feet to whatever's supporting you or supporting you sitting on the earth. You can go in order of your body from your feet up if you like, or whatever works for you. Just notice where you're feeling things, sensations, like where you connect your body to the earth. Those are good points to kind of connect with. Okay, I know my feet are on the ground. I can feel that. The back of my pelvis is on the ground. I can feel my low back. Well, most of my back I can feel against the blanket. I can feel the backs of my hands because that's the way my hands are resting. I feel like my wrists aren't touching the ground, but my forearms, maybe just before I get to my elbows, are touching. My elbows are touching. And then my arms don't touch. The rest of my arms up to my shoulders don't touch. And then, of course, I feel the back of my head on the blanket. So that's my journey through my body, just to see. And that's what's touching the ground. So what's not touching the ground? What is open to the room? So if you went through the back of the body with me, and now go through the front of the body, feel the tops of your feet. Move through your body that way. I'll let you go on your own journey. And notice if this is a difficult practice. Now, I've often said that a definition I like to use for yoga is the process of becoming more aware of your mind-body connection, where you exist within the world in this present moment, and your surroundings. Notice if you feel tingling or itches or pain or pressure somewhere through the front of your body, or tension that you might be holding without really realizing it. Then if you feel okay to, see what it feels like to stretch your legs out. If that doesn't feel great on your low back, then you can rebend them. If you feel okay here, notice what it feels like, what changed when you took your legs out straight. And then I'm going to invite you to turn to your breath here. And with this awareness of the back of the body resting down, the front of the body, maybe more expansive than when you're in the garden or when you're working on something in front of you. We've got this length through the body and width through the body. So feel the comparison between the back of the body that's resting at the front of the body. I'm going to say that's more expansive. Not to say the back of the body is not expansive, but just feel whatever contrast you feel there. And then I'd like you to breathe in a way that feels like you're creating space between the back of your body and the front of your body. Does that make sense? Not just where you breathe in your lungs, but all the way through your arms, through your legs, through your head. So the back of the body gets heavier as you breathe in, and the front of the body lifts and expands more as you breathe in, giving you this perhaps a sensation that you've got more space inside. And then as you exhale, you can allow a feeling of contraction, moving back towards center. Maybe not compression through the center of the body. Maybe we still have a little bit of that space that we want to stay open to inside. So you can let your breath be a little bit longer and fuller. We'll just be here for another few moments. You're making space inside by letting the back body become heavier as you inhale, and the front body become more expansive and light as you inhale. That all happens on the inhale. If it's possible. And then there's a settling on the exhale. A drawing inward, but not a compaction. And if you can, just the final part of this visualization, meditation, body scan-ish thing, see if when you exhale, there's a point within you that your energy gets drawn towards. Could be in your belly, could be in where your heart space is, could be in your throat, could be in the pelvic floor, could be in your between your eyebrows, third eye. See if there's a point that feels like you are okay to draw your energy towards it, or if it's just happening naturally. And do that for the next 5-10 breaths. You need to let go of the breath practice anytime, let it go. Change positions, you can do that anytime. So we're expanding the inside space on the inhale, keeping it spacious, but then finding a point to draw your energy towards as you exhale. So then maybe your expansion comes from that place now. Let's do 3 more breaths like that. Try not to think too much about it, just let it happen. And then let your breath return to a natural rhythm. Let it find its own pace. And then sense and feel what's going on. Did that change anything, that short breath practice change anything in the way you feel? So start to wiggle your toes, circle your ankles, point and flex your ankles. Just be gentle with yourself. Maybe do the same with your fingers and your wrists. Find movement in your knees and your elbows. It's a good way to just check in to see how you're feeling. What feels different from one side to the other. And then into your shoulders and hip joints. What kind of movement can you find? Do you need to bend your legs to find movement? Like you're drawing energy from the extremities, from your hands and your feet, and moving it towards your torso. And then find movement in your body, in your spine. So we have 3 planes of movement. The sagittal plane is like you coming up in a sit-up where your legs coming towards you. The frontal plane is you maybe rocking your body from side to side. That's kind of combined with the transverse plane where there's rotation. So you can take your arms one side and your legs another side. So just find as much movement as you're able to in this position where you're supported by the earth. And can you feel like the earth will support you? In your times of need and all the time, really. Maybe even move your head so you've got your whole body kind of participating in some movement here. And you're getting to move the way your body is inviting you, not the way I'm telling you, do this, do this, do this, which there will be some of that. But for now, just move the way you feel moved to do, called to do. Then one of those pandiculations that we did last week was a big stretch, however you want to do it, maybe a yawn or two. And then before we settle back, we're going to roll over, take the supports out. You might still need a pillow. You're going to come back onto your back. Good. Each as wide-ish as your mat. And we'll go into a really slow motion windshield wipers where we're keeping the pelvis still and only moving the thigh bones in the hip sockets. So how do you know if you're moving your pelvis or not? So remember the sensation that you had through the back of the body. Do you feel across the back of your pelvis if you're getting heavier on the side that you lean your legs to? That would be a cue or clue to know whether you're moving your pelvis. So trying to move my legs here without letting my pelvis move. So that means I'm engaging through my core in a subtle way because I still want to breathe. It's not a big movement. And it's challenging. I have to connect my mind to my body here to make this happen. You can even put your hands on the front of your pelvis to say, is it moving? Is one side getting higher? Sometimes we think we're doing it, and then our body fools us. Okay, so now keep going with your legs and let your pelvis move. Let your pelvis rock from side to side, or whatever it's going to do when you do this movement. For now, we're going to keep shoulders still And the upper body centered and head centered. I do want to have through the body soon. So just exploring this movement that we don't do very often in everyday living, this side to side. So now let your legs go a little bit further. So maybe when you go to the right, your right leg comes all the way down to the floor, and let your upper body move. So if my right leg comes down to the floor, my left shoulder blade comes off the floor. And then when I take my legs over to the left, my pelvis rocks to the side. I'm going to let my left leg come all the way down. Maybe even my right knee comes towards the floor a little bit closer. And I'm going to let my right shoulder blade come off the floor. So we kind of got this ripple going up from feet, through legs, through pelvis, through spine, and then let your head roll. So maybe your head wants to roll one way, one direction, more than another. I'm just feeling sort of naturally like as my legs go to the right, my head wants to rotate to the left. Almost like the whole body is doing this wringing out. You know, I could do 20 minutes of this in my own practice. We won't. When you find something that kind of like, oh yeah, the whole body is kind of talking to all the other parts. All the parts are talking through the fascia. Like, yeah, that feels like it's doing something really good for me. And then hold on one side for a couple of breaths. Maybe test the limits a little bit. Can you take this a little further, reach a little further, or not? What do you feel when you do that? And then we'll come back in through the center and go to the other side, whichever that side happens to be, and find a place to hold there. And let your body breathe in this new shape. And can you go a little further? Can you add a little bit more of a, instead of a rest, like a little bit more of an intention of a stretch? And how much do you need to do to feel something good still? And then make your way back to the center. Take your time, look at how the body parts want to move to do that. Okay, so now legs still bent, lift your pelvis off the floor. And if you find your pillow is too high when you lift your pelvis off the floor and it's making your neck stretch too much at the back, or chin come too close to your chest, then take the pillow out or lower it down. And then let's roll down through the spine. So when I say that, you're up to where most of your back is off the floor, and then you're going to lower, like as if you're ironing the floor with your body in order from the top of the spine to the bottom of the spine, and then into the pelvis. So that's a long, that took me that long to do. So then let's go back up, straight up. So you're engaging through the back of the body, the hamstrings and back of the pelvis, the gluteus muscles and the spinal muscles. And then we hold for a moment. Adjust your head if you need to. We want to overstretch the neck in this position because that's a lot of weight. And then roll through the spine again. So the imagery that comes to my mind is like a zipper. Laying down your back onto the floor as if it's a zipper, connecting with the teeth on the floor. Then take your time noticing where your back does not want to touch the floor and taking your time there. And then once you're ready, once you're back, you can go up again. So we're taking the elevator up and the zip line down. You can think of it like a zip line too. Kind of a neat way. If you've ever zip lined. Well, let's do that at least 3 more times. Take your time. And if you can, remember to breathe. This is your practice. You want to be able to bring in prana, this life force energy that is all around us, into that spaciousness that you created at the beginning of the practice. And notice if you've compressed it. And then finish on the one that you're doing right now. And when you come down and land your pelvis, lift your legs up and bring your legs towards you. So you can bring your hands around your shins or go underneath your knees. And you can rock if you want, or you can hold it still. You can circle on the back of your body. So if some of us have been out gardening, that's a lot of bending over. So it's a good idea to open up and feel spacious again after you've been in the garden for a little bit. Okay, then keep your left leg in and take your right leg down and stretch it out. Long, long leg. Reach out through the sole of your right foot. And your hands are clasped either around your knee or behind. And instead of pulling your leg towards you, let your arms relax. Let your elbows sort of hang wherever they happen to be. And let the weight of your arms just hold your leg in place. A few breaths here. Doing 2 different things with the hip joints. Then while we're holding this, be aware of your right leg and create a leg shape that as if you were standing on your right leg. So your foot becomes flexed. Imagine that you're standing on the wall in front of you. And then press your heel, the back of your heel, into the floor. And notice if you're trying to do that by pushing the back of your knee down. Instead, push the back of your heel. It's almost like your knee creates a little bit of a bend in it when you do that. Excuse me. And then try to pull your right heel towards your right sit bone. So we create action in the right leg. So we're pushing the heel down and pulling it towards you. And breathing. And then relax, release it completely. And change sides. So your left leg goes out, your arms come up and hands interlace around your knee or behind your knee. Let your arms be heavy. There's no place you have to be here. Just letting the body be in this shape and breathe in this shape. And again, notice if you have compressed that space that you created at the beginning. Ideally, we want space for the organs to work efficiently. Massaging them is a good idea too, once in a while. You know, we want to vary our movements for sure. I also want to give them space and let the body rest. So this is the resting phase of this pose. And then rotate your left leg until you feel it's centered. It's not turning out anymore. And your foot's flexed, and it's like you're standing on your left leg. So imagine if you were standing, the back of the body, back of your head, back of your shoulders, probably the back of your pelvis, parts of your back will touch the floor. Parts of your left leg will touch the floor, but particularly your heel. And then press your left heel into the floor, not by pressing your knee down into the floor, by pressing the back of your heel, and you're letting your knee sort of soften a little bit. For engaging, you might feel it all the way up to your sit bone. And then see if you can even create the action of pulling your heel towards your sit bone. Your arms are light, resting. I should say they're lightly resting. They feel heavy though. Okay, then slowly release. Bring your right leg back down. Take a moment in Shavasana to notice everything you feel here. Okay, then rebend your legs. We'll take a block that's nearby and bring it between your thighs. Engage through the inner thighs, just enough. And as you feel like you're holding the block, you can let go just a little bit. What's the amount you can let go without it dropping? And then squeeze it again. And then let go a little bit. And then squeeze again. Activating the adductors or the inner thigh muscles. So the key to really having a healthy back is mobility in the hips, mobility in the spine. So we're doing this pulsing, this press and release, press and release. Let your release happen. Let it release and feel like you're not compressing or really squeezing everything inside you. And on this last one, compress, hold it there, take your arms out to the sides. See if you can lift your legs off the floor. So we're going to almost do a peeling of the pelvis. So you can lift your heels first. Maybe even slide your feet, your toes towards you. Let's see if you can slowly lift your legs up and towards you, still holding the block. You might roll into your low back here. And then we're going to go back down. So you want to control the movement. Stay connected through your low back to the floor as you land your feet. I landed my toes first and my heels, and then neutral. So if you find that that's too big of a movement, go to where you can and pause there. So if it means heels lift and you're holding here without your feet coming off the floor, then stay there. You want to connect with the core muscles here. So if it's too much to take your legs off the floor, your feet off the floor, then stay low. Then we go into flexion of the low back and the hips. We don't need to do many of these, do we? So think of how we peeled the spine or rolled the spine down from the top. Think of the same here. As you bring your pelvis, your feet towards the floor, roll through your spine. Keep your spine connected, the low back connected. We're more likely to use the core muscles. And then once your feet land, then you can let your low back come away from the floor. We'll do one more. I don't know if you can see in my body how I'm doing this. So what I'm trying to avoid is like this jerking of my legs up towards the sky. So if this is it, you can't quite get the legs off the ground without a jerking motion, then don't go there. And then roll back down. That last few moments that are the hardest. And then once you land, you can take your block out, put it to the side. Notice, take your strap now, and hopefully you've got a loop in it. And if you don't, let me know. You're at home. You should, the straps here, I tend to keep a loop in it. If not, let me know and I'll, because we want it to be able to hold. So you're going to put it around your legs and around the same spot, roughly where your block was, around your thighs. So now instead of pressing inward, we're pressing out. And same idea. So first we pulse by pressing out, and then we soften it. And we press out. We're not going to let the strap go slack. Is it going to work, Kelly? Okay. Is it working, Judy? Is it home? Is it coming undone? Here, I'll get you a different one. It depends on how you thread it. I'll check it. Here, let's give you a different one. A ready-made one. So you just have to open that loop up. So we're pressing out and then softening, pressing out, softening back. Using your abductors, abductors. Press out. Nice. Okay, so let me get this back on. Now, similar to what we did before, we're going to press out. Start to lift your heels off the floor. Peeling. So as your heels come off the floor, your pelvis tips back. Let your low back move into the floor. You can slide your toes towards you. Maybe they come off the floor, maybe they don't. And then you bring your legs towards you. So as you probably know, working on your low back means working on your core. And then coming back down. So connecting the low back to the floor means we're going to use more of this bigger muscle called the transversus abdominis, which is like a corset. Rather than the big one on the front called the rectus abdominis, the six-pack muscle. Go slow and control, and only do the range of motion that you can do with a smooth movement and without holding your breath. Remember, we want to be gentle with ourselves. So if your legs don't come up, your feet don't come off the ground, that's okay. You got to meet yourself where you're at. In between, let your pelvis come back to neutral. So you're on the back of your pelvis, still pressing into the strap, combining the action of abduction, pressing outward, the outer hips engaging, with flexion and core engagement. We'll do one more after this. That last little bit that's the hardest, isn't it? Yeah, good work. Awesome. Okay, last one. Did I mention how important it is to breathe? And then once you've finished, you can take the strap off and see what you feel like doing. You feel like bringing your legs towards you to release your low back? Is it overworking? Or do you feel like, I just need to stretch my legs out, let my whole core rest? Because you don't have to support yourself here. The earth is doing it for you. I notice. Everybody okay so far? Everybody at home okay so far? Awesome. Okay. I have my nettle tea today. Okay, a little rotation through the spine. So shift over to your right side. Probably will need a pillow in here. So whatever you had for your pillow, I'm even going to suggest you double it, because on your side, you need a little bit, often you need a little bit higher. Not to say you can't do it lower, you can even do it like this. You'll get a bigger stretch through this outside of the neck, and you can decide whether that's something you want to feel or not. Okay, so take your block that you had and put it right behind you. So I'll show you from this side. I'm going to put it right here at the back of my pelvis. And I'm not allowed to knock the block over. So it's got to snug it right up to you. So if I'm right behind you, right behind your pelvis. So you can stack your legs however they feel comfortable, and then stack your arms in front like this, out to the side. Lift your top arm up. So you're laying, are you laying on your left side? Did I say?
Right.
You're on your right, okay. So your left arm's on top. You start lifting your left arm up. Let your eyes, your head follow your arm. So as your arm goes up, turn your body and take it back, but we're not going to knock the block over. You're only going to go as far as you can go, rotating through the upper body without knocking the block over. Yeah, it's totally hard. I just heard it land. I didn't hear. We won't point any fingers. We know one happened in here at least. Yeah. So rotation of the spine, as I've said in past classes, is so important. Oh my goodness. Freeing the diaphragm is so important. And all the stuff that we do in front of our bodies. It's a really great movement. You follow your arm, go slow. So your body is turning with your arm. Then you're opening a space through the top of the chest. And then you can have a breath and go, oh yeah, I'm creating that space again. Can you create the space between the front and the back of the body? So focusing a little bit more on the upper body. And you're moving through your torso. So if you've lost your hand, if your hand drops down and you're not looking at it anymore, you've not turned your body enough. Only turn let your arm go where you can still see your hand. Okay, then when you come back down and you line your hands up again, start to now reach your top hand, which is for you, your left, I mean, and reach it way past. So I'm sliding it. I don't know if you can see that. I'm sliding my hand way past, and I want to focus on this action right here. Hands together, then slide way past. So feel what's happening at the back of your body, your shoulder blades. My top shoulder blades moving away from my spine. And then we'll combine this. So you move through the shoulder blades, and then from that position, start lifting up as you're reaching away. So again, you engage your core a little bit here. Lift that top arm up. Follow it with your head and your eyes so that you know you're turning your body and not just moving your arm. And again, without dropping the block. We'll do 3 like that. As you come back down, your hand goes beyond your other hand. And then lift back up again. Yeah, nice. And then the third time. Totally good for golf, yeah. Okay, once you've done the third time, just roll back onto your back. Carol, are you okay? Are you doing this on your bed? You can kind of, if you're just going to sit, you can kind of do it this way. It's not quite the same, and I did promise everyone a lower to the ground practice today. Okay, so roll onto your back. Take a moment to check in. Move your block from one side to the other. And then roll over onto your other side. And we start with the rotation. So hands touch, meet, and you lift your top arm and you rotate. Yeah, so it's not about your arm movement. So kind of be aware of how much you're moving your arm versus moving your body. Your arm is going to move a little bit, but at some point, when your arm gets to be sort of in line with your chest, the rest is your body movement, except for your pelvis. The blocks are dropping all over the place. So get a sense, maybe even without, waiting for the block to knock over, just get a sense of how you're moving. Are you moving? So this is another thing that I find sometimes people will do is they'll do less movement because they don't want to knock the block over. Still try to find the movement. And there's no penalties really. The block knocking over is neither here nor there. It's just to help give you some guidance as to how am I actually moving? Am I rotating through my rib cage? Beautiful, beautiful. Does it feel like a little bit of a ringing action through my spine? Am I rotating where the spine is meant to rotate? And then let's add the part about reaching the top hand past. So reach the top hand past your other hand and lift up from there. So we got this lengthening of the shoulder blade away from the spine. So then when you come back, you're reaching away as you come back. So your hands don't line up when you come back. Nicely done. Yeah, it doesn't mean you have to go all the way back. There are no rules here. This is all about finding your range of motion, your personal, individual snowflake range of motion. Okay, one last one. Yeah. And then come back. And I'd like you to shift again. Last time we're shifting before we settle for the end of the class onto your belly. So you can decide whether you need a pillow or whether you want to rest on your hands. And then bend your legs so that you can release through your low back a little bit. And then let your legs rock from side to side. So we're keeping the upper body steady. We're letting some movement happen through the pelvis and the low back. It's kind of like reverse windshield wipers. Instead of the feet being fixed when you're on your back, your knees are fixed in place. Explore your range of motion here. How far over can your feet go to one side and then to the other side? And then back into the center. And then lay them back down. And lift your body up and support yourself with your forearms. So I'm turning my forearms so my fingers face forward. You can take your arms further ahead if you feel like it's too much compression in your low back. You can also bring them back a little further, anywhere from here to here. It's where you start to get a little bit of a curve in the opposite direction in your spine. So notice where the curve is happening, what the sensation feels like in your back. Is this a position that you can sustain? Now, this is getting into the yin yoga arena. That you have pain here. Ideally not. We don't want pain. Do you want to create any action here, like pulling your shoulders back, lifting your chest up? Those are just suggestions. What's your back going to feel like when you come out of this pose? Are you going to need to have a counter pose to release a sensation? If yes, you're not in the right place for you right now. So you can walk your hands further out and be where you can sustain this. Think of this now as creating expansion along the front of your spine that's embedded deep into your body. And for just a few moments here, wherever you happen to be, come back to that breathing practice. This time, the front of the body, when you breathe, softens into the earth or away from the spine, and the back of the body opens up towards the center of the room. So let your body breathe here. Again, if it feels like when you come out of this, your back is going to be in pain, adjust where you are. Maybe you come right back with your hands on your forehead or your forehead on your hands again. So the front and the back body move away from each other as you breathe in. And then as you breathe out, find a focal point. Maybe it's a different one. Think of a focal point where your breath gets drawn towards, or your awareness gets drawn towards as you exhale. Be where you can do this with ease. By expanding through the back of the body, we can take away some of that compression, especially in the low back. Is it possible to expand back by your kidneys? Your belly moves into the floor on inhale, and your kidneys move back. It's a beautiful massage for that part of the body. Take 3 more breaths here. Notice if you're creating tension anywhere else in your body, in your shoulders, your throat, your eyes, or your jaw. Then after the 3rd breath, if you're still up, come down. Bend your legs again. Let your legs sway from side to side. Hold on one side if you like, or the other side, or both. See what it feels like to do a different style of windshield wipers. Maybe your feet go away from each other and then towards each other. Is there any action that you need to create here to feel like you're not compressing your low back, that you can still breathe and expand the back body? Couple more breaths. Then we can bring your legs down, bring your hands beside you. Really great practice to practice getting yourself up off the ground without holding your breath. So take a moment, breathe in, and then as you exhale, push into the floor to lift yourself up. If you feel like you'd like to go back into a half downward dog or a child's pose of some kind, you can go there. Notice how much you're trying to get rid of a sensation as opposed to feeling something, the next thing. Okay? He's alive. He's alive. Okay, we're going to finish with the chair, since you may feel something in your low back. No, we're going to have the legs up on the chair. So I'm going to suggest that we keep it fairly low. A blanket on the chair would be a good idea, just to soften it, unless you have a really soft chair. And a pillow of some kind. We're going to keep the pelvis on the ground for this. So here's what I like to do. I like to get pretty close to the chair and then turn and bring my legs up. So then while I'm here, I can rest on my forearms and adjust where my pelvis is. And I kind of like the idea of pressing into the calves, lifting the pelvis up, and even shaking it a little bit, and then landing it down. Just kind of letting it rock a little bit, and then rolling down through the spine. Again, set up your pillow either to support the shoulders and the head, or just your head. And then bring your arms where they're needed, where they want to go. They can be on your body. And once you're there, you can also press into your calves and just let your pelvis rock a little from side to side. And then land. I like this position for the femurs, your thigh bones, because they can sit a little bit more centered in the hip sockets, especially if your pelvis is level. If you've rolled a little bit into your low back, you could always put a blanket underneath your whole body just to raise you up a little bit. Take a moment to release your jaw, wiggle it around a little bit, soften it. And see if there's any other place in your body that's holding tension, like what your jaw does. Something that's turned on that doesn't need to be turned on. And let your legs be heavy on the chair. Imagine I've put a sandbag across the front of your shins. What would that feel like? Then come back to the experience that we were having at the beginning of the practice, connecting the back body to the front body. And breathe to expand inside on your inhale. And exhale to a focal point somewhere in your body. It doesn't have to be the same one. Maybe it's just shifted all on its own. Or maybe you want to choose a different focal point. Hear the sound of my voice. And invite movement into your body where it wants to move. Invite your breath to be free to go to all the places that you created space. Wiggle and stretch and yawn and do whatever comes to you. And if you're making your way to sit, you can take your time to do that. Or you can stay where you are and take longer time to do that. I've kept you a little bit longer today. I wanted to make sure we can finish with a resting pose. So, how do you all feel?
Better than last week.
Better than last week. Okay, no class next week, and then we resume the following week. Have a great rest of your day and week, everybody. Peace.